Like, if it was just
Yeah.
any new people or new
The
things
Dark
at all.
Enlightenment.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
This
there was, like, a Kill Felix Enlightenment, I'd be like, "Well, no one's done that before. Okay."
I mean, well, dark MAGA is sort of like the dark counter enlightenment. You know, I mean, they're reaching back here. And courtesy of Newsweek, it says a small fringe of Donald Trump supporters is calling for the former president to get back on the highest stage of U.S. politics with a vengeance, with the motto "Dark MAGA." More of a meme than a political slogan, Dark MAGA is a post alt right aesthetic that promotes an authoritarian version of Trump in dystopian Terminator like images. In some, the Trump Tower is painted entirely black, and the former president is seen piercing through the screen with blue laser eyes. I guess a blue laser eyes would be the new part of this aesthetic, because usually they're red.
So, like, do they is that, like, they mean that they want, like, Trump to make that part of his slogan, Dark MAGA?
I think that they're just like, okay, like, I mean, as the article like seeks to explain it, it's like it's just the latest iteration of the kind of thwarted hopes and dreams of the MAGA movement and the way that they've tried to metabolize losing a presidential election and their fantasies of, you know, the very real possibility that Trump could be president again. And like now, I mean, like this is exactly like everyone was talking about. You got to wait for second term Obama. You got to wait for like, you know, Trump to return from exile, and then he's really going to drain the swamp and like, you know, do violence to all of the enemies who you know, slighted him or took away his presidency from him.
Yeah, Hamburger Party was the compromise. This is just like it seems like if we were like in 2020, like Bernie, this time we got it. I know I know it seems like maybe South Carolina was a roadblock. Super Tuesday's not looking great. What if you made the symbol of your campaign gritty?
Well, I mean, like, yeah, or just or guillotines. You could get some
Yeah.
guillotines going. Yeah, not bad. Newsweek continues. The aesthetics of the movement are easily recognizable. Images edited in red and black or red and blue, featuring people with blue laser eyes, often holding weapons or standing in front of neo-Nazi symbols. Dark MAGA supporters are calling for a ruthless, unforgiving version of Trump to take revenge on his political enemies at the 2024 election. Though the movement hasn't been recognized or endorsed by Trump in any form, the former president hasn't even formally confirmed whether he'll run for president in 2024. In the description of the Dark MAGA hashtag creator, as described by the Global Network on Extremism and Technology, Dark MAGA represents Napoleon being exiled, then raising a fucking army to attack Europe and to attack elites. Dark MAGA
That's exactly what Trump is like. He's like Napoleon. He's exactly the same as him. I'd like. I assume for political enemies, like they obviously mean Democrats, but also like rhinos.
Yeah. Just anyone who didn't let him
Trump,
overturn
like,
the election.
Yeah, Trump like just forgave a political enemy. He doesn't even know JD Vance's name, and he's like, "Oh, I like him."
Oh, that was interesting.
Like him
he said
hating me until like 2019.
So yeah, when he was when he said he's endorsed JD Mandel. So he confused it, like, or he sort of mashed them together like a Brendel-Fly thing, Josh Mandel and JD Vance, which I don't think was an error. I think that was done on purpose. I think he wants to like basically endorse both of them and sort of cover his bases to see, because if any one of them wins, then he can take credit for it. But I think he'll just be like, oh, like whoever wins, he'll say he endorsed them. But I think he's intentionally flubbing it so he can cover both the Mandel and the Vance supporters.
JD Vance got circumcised right after that, just in case. Bad news, Jewish JD.
It's the realization that there is no political solution beyond vengeance, tweets another user. If you want to win, if you don't want to repeat the past, you have to get mean. You almost have to embrace the villain role they're bringing with you, describes another supporter, quoted by GNet. You know, this is
not wrong.
I mean, yeah, well, but in terms of like, you know, the aesthetic with the laser eyes and like the neo-Nazi symbolism and like, you know, like Trump brandishing some sort of golden sword to smite his enemies or whatever. I think like this does rhyme with last week's episode, because like, you know, I know the beliefs of these people, and I guess like these are the ones who are willing to say what JD Vance or like Blake Masters like chooses to sort of shade through innuendo. but I think you're really you're doing it despite how poisonous or dangerous you may believe their beliefs are. I think you're really doing these people a favor by talking about them in these like apocalyptic, dangerous terms. Like they're like, because like oh they're villains. They're the super villains of our society, and it's like I mean like yeah like I certainly don't want to see the politics they espouse come to fruition, but I don't know. I mean, it's just like I think these people want to be seen as villains, and they want to be seen as frightening, liberals. And
Yeah,
like I
and
think
liberals
that's
want to
the
see them that way.
yeah.
Like this is all once again, it's the same thing as the disinformation thing. This is serving every quadrant. It's getting everybody to feel validated. The dark MAGA people get to feel like instead of the most pathetic losers on earth, they're the vanguard of a political movement. And the people who want to scare themselves about Trump all day instead of like looking at anything else, because there's nothing they can do about that other than just holler about Trump more, which is what they wanted to do anyway. This is great. It feeds their anxiety. I mean, it's a win-win. Everybody wins with this.
Yeah, a lot of people are about to hit their heads and lose their Ukraine expertise and maybe return to being extremism experts.
Yeah, but yeah, like just this is sort of like a I was thinking about Thursday's show, and I'd like to, I'd like to paraphrase a friend of ours, Cliff, who we were talking about this, and he said something that I think we were all sort of trying to, sort of grasping at trying to communicate. I think he summed it up quite eloquently when he said that like this sort of new post right and their kind of like ominous fascist leanings or whatever is sort of like and like because if something smells like fascism, like I don't mind people talking about it or naming it as such, and this certainly does, but like I don't think these people really want to wage some sort of like blood-soaked war for their American Caesar. I think they want to remove themselves from mainstream society and replace the institutions, not to destroy the institutions they're attacking, but to like kind of replace them with institutions that they're totally in control of, rather than like raising all of American society to the ground.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
because
yeah,
their lives depend on all those institutions. They have no other way of living. None of us do. That's why everyone is fucking paralyzed.
yeah. I mean, this is the Grubhub country. We're not making new institutions.
Continuing in the Dark MAGA article, it says the dark MAGA idea of this glorious leader who's been punished and sent away, deposed and humiliated, and he needs to come back with and harden his heart, is a narrative that wouldn't be out of place like in games like Warhammer 40,000 or a Japanese anime. Squirrel says. Squirrel's one of the he's the head of communications and editorial at the Institute for Strategic Dialogue. And it said Dark MAGA, according to Alice E. Marwick, Associate Professor of Communication at the University of North Carolina and Principal Researcher at the Center for Information and Technology and Public Life, is an evolution of the feeling of disappointment and disenfranchisement that many Trump supporters have felt after the 2020 election. So, I mean, Dark MAGA was born from the alt-right's feeling of having lost power and seeking to regain that power at any cost. Dark MAGA posts are far from receiving the same kind of attention that brought similar sorts of political memes to become so relevant in the 2016 election. But in the next 2 years, things might change. So, yeah, I mean, things might change, but in the meantime, it's just everyone is stuck in just trying to discover a new aesthetic and a new meme. But, no one's really taking back power or, like you said, threatening the institutions that govern American life. Or, I mean, it depends. I mean, like they're the right wing in this country is, currently trashing the threads that are left of our civilization. But I don't know.